Now we come to the last chapter, chapter 4. Khuddaka Nikaya 4.1. Monks, I am a Brahmana, ever accessible to entreaties, open-handed, one bearing his last body, an unsurpassed physician and surgeon. You are my own legitimate sons, born from my mouth, born of Dhamma, fashioned by Dhamma, heirs of Dhamma, not heirs of material things. Monks, there are these two kinds of giving, the giving of material things and the giving of the Dhamma. Of these two kinds of giving, this is the foremost, namely the giving of the Dhamma. There are these two kinds of sharing, similarly these two kinds of help, these two kinds of offerings, the offering of material things and the offering of Dhamma. Of these two kinds of offering, this is the foremost, namely the offering of the Dhamma. The Tathagata has made the Dhamma offering unselfish, compassionate towards all beings. Living beings revere such a one, gone beyond being, as chief of devas and humans. 4.2 Sulabha Sutta. These four, monks, are trifling things, easily obtained and blameless. What for? A robe made of cast-off rags is a trifling thing, easily obtained and blameless. Food gathered on arms round is a trifling thing, easily obtained and blameless. The root of a tree as a dwelling place is a trifling thing, easily obtained and blameless. Medicine consisting of putrid urine is a trifling thing, easily obtained and blameless. These monks are the four trifling things, easily obtained and blameless. When a monk is content with these things that are trifling and easily obtained, I see of him that he has the requisites for recluseship. One content with what is blameless, things trifling and easily obtained, does not become vexed in mind when not obtaining a place to live, a robe to wear, and food and drink. He has no resentment in any quarter. These are the things declared to be suitable for a recluse's life, by possession of which a monk may abide content and diligent. This one, the medicine, is actually our own urine. Putrid urine means smelly urine after keeping for several days. But the commentary interpreted as cow's urine. So we find, like for example in Burmese monks, they keep cow's urine and they put the fruits in those medicinal fruits in the cow's urine. One old Sayadaw told me that that they believe all this for all the time. So when he was teaching in a university in India, he was in India for many years, more than 10 years. And then he went to these Ayurveda centers, and he saw them healing people using Ayurveda, herbal ways of treating. And he saw them using urine, so he asked them whether it's cow's urine. They said no. They said it's human urine. And they said for thousands of years they have been using human urine, not cow urine. So it's something wrong by the commentary. So a monk should be not fussy about these four requisites. Sometimes certain monks are very fussy about food, about robes and all that. If you are really fussy, you cannot really be a monk who stays in the forest and all that. Last time when we were in Thailand, sometimes we go on alms round in the village areas. The people are so poor. You go several houses to beg for food. What you get is white rice and one egg only, one hard-boiled egg. Nothing else. Even with that, we are happy because with one hard-boiled egg, it will last you 24 hours. But if they give you only vegetables, then by night you'll be hungry. You need a bit of protein. And sometimes, bake the whole morning, you get a small fried fish from the paddy field. You know what we call the ikan sepat, the small fish. So Enough to survive if you are not fussy. 4.3 Asavakaya Sutta. For one knowing and seeing monks, I say there is the destruction of the asavas, not for one not knowing and not seeing. But for one knowing what, seeing what, is there the destruction of the asavas. For one knowing and seeing, this is suffering, there is the destruction of the asavas. For one knowing and seeing, this is the origin of suffering, this is the cessation of suffering, this is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. There is the destruction of the asavas. Thus it is, monks, that for one knowing and seeing, there is the destruction of the asavas. For a learner who is training in conformity with the direct path, the knowledge of destruction arises first, and final knowledge immediately follows. To one freed by that final knowledge, the topmost knowledge of freedom, there arises the knowledge of destruction. Thus the fetters are destroyed. Certainly not by the lazy person, nor by the uncomprehending fool is Nibbana to be attained, the loosening of all worldly ties. This destruction can refer to the destruction of the asavas, or like here, destruction of the fetters also. 4.4 Samana Brahmana Sutta. Monks, whatever recluses and Brahmins do not understand as it actually is. This is suffering. This is the origin of suffering. This is the cessation of suffering. This is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Those recluses and Brahmins are not considered by me to be true recluses among recluses, to be true Brahmins among Brahmins. These venerable ones live without having realized and achieved here and now, by their own direct knowledge, the aim of being a recluse, the aim of being a Brahmin or Brahmana. But monks, whatever recluses and Brahmins understand as it actually is, this is suffering, this is the origin of suffering, this is the cessation of suffering, this is the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Those recluses and Brahmins are considered by me to be true recluses among recluses, to be true Brahmins among Brahmins. These venerable ones indeed live, having achieved and realized here and now, by their own direct knowledge, the aim of being a recluse, the aim of being a Brahmin. Those who do not understand suffering, or how suffering is produced, or where suffering finally stops, altogether without remainder, and who do not know that path leading to relief from suffering, they are destitute of release by mind, and lack release by wisdom too. Unable to make an end of it, they fare on in birth and decay. But those who understand suffering and how suffering is produced and where suffering finally stops, altogether without remainder, and who also know that path leading to relief from suffering, they possess that release by mind and the release by wisdom too, able to make an end of it. They never come back to birth and decay. So a real monk or a real recluse is one who understands the Four Noble Truths. There are some, they only want to meditate, they don't want to study the Dhamma. So even if they attain psychic powers and all that, they are not considered real recluse or real Brahmana because they don't know the Dhamma. Even with all their psychic power, they cannot get out of the round of rebirths. 4.5 Sila Sampatta Sutta. Monks, as to those monks who excel in virtue, excel in concentration, excel in wisdom, excel in liberation, excel in knowledge and vision of liberation, who are advisors, instructors and demonstrators, who exhort, inspire and encourage, and who are competent teachers of the true Dhamma. Seeing those monks is very helpful, I say. Listening to those monks, approaching them, attending upon them, remembering them, and following their example in going forth into homelessness is very helpful, I say. For what reason? By following such monks, by associating with them and attending upon them, the aggregate of virtue as yet incomplete reaches completion of development. The aggregate of concentration, of wisdom, of liberation, and of knowledge and vision of liberation, as yet incomplete, reaches completion of development. Such monks as these are called teachers, caravan leaders, fault abandoners, dispellers of darkness, light bringers, makers of radiance, luminaries, torch bearers, bringers of illumination, noble ones, possessors of vision. For those who are knowledgeable, this is a state making for joy, living the life of Dhamma under the noble ones perfected in mind. They clarify the true Dhamma, shining forth and illuminating it. Those light bringers, heroic sages, endowed with vision, dispelling faults, having heard their teaching, the wise with perfect understanding, by directly knowing the end of birth, come no more to renewal of being. So if you can meet somebody who excels in virtue, sila, samadhi, concentration and wisdom, then you are very fortunate. Okay, the next sutta is 4.6. Tanhupada Sutta. Monks, there are four things that arouse craving, whereby the craving that has arisen in a monk arises. What are the four? Because of robes, because of alms food, because of a dwelling place, because of gaining this or losing that, the craving that has arisen in a monk arises. These monks are the four things that arouse craving, whereby the craving that has arisen in a monk arises. A person companioned by craving wanders on the long journey in this state of being or another and cannot go beyond samsara. Having understood the danger thus, that craving is the origin of suffering, a monk should wander mindfully, free from craving, without grasping. So a monk is supposed to possess very little things. But then even those very little things, you can still have attachment for them, robes, food, dwelling place, or this or that, gaining or losing this or that. 4.7 Sabrahmaka Sutta. Living with Brahma are those families where within the home mother and father are respected by their children. Living with the early Devas are those families where within the home mother and father are respected by their children. Living with the early teachers are those families where within the home mother and father are respected by their children. Living with those worthy of adoration are those families where within the home mother and father are respected by their children. Brahma monks is a term for mother and father. Early Devas and early teachers and those worthy of veneration are terms for mother and father. For what reason? Because mother and father are very helpful to their children. They take care of them and bring them up and teach them about the world. Mother and father are called Brahma, early teachers and worthy of veneration, being compassionate towards their family of children. Thus the wise should venerate them, pay them due honor, provide them with food and drink, give them clothing and a bed, anoint and bathe them, and also wash their feet. When he performs such service for his mother and father, they praise that wise person even here, and hereafter he rejoices in heaven. So, there's a saying, charity begins at home. So, the first people, we should take care of our family members, the children towards their parents, parents towards their children. 4.8 Bahukara Sutta. Monks, Brahmins and householders are very helpful to you. They provide you with the requisites of robes, alms, food, lodgings and medicine in time of sickness. And you monks are very helpful to Brahmins and householders as you teach them the Dhamma that is good at the outset, good in the middle and good at the end, with its correct meaning and wording, and you proclaim the holy life in its fulfillment and complete purity. Thus, monks, this holy life is lived with mutual support for the purpose of crossing the flood and for making a complete end of suffering. Householders and homeless alike, each a support for the other, both accomplish the true Dhamma, the unsurpassed security from bondage. From householders, the homeless receive these basic necessities of life, robes to wear and a place to dwell, dispelling the hardships of the seasons. And by relying on one of good conduct, home-loving layfolk, dwelling in a house, place faith in those worthy ones, of noble wisdom and meditative, practicing the Dhamma in this life, the path leading to a good bond. Those wishing for pleasure rejoice in the delights of the Deva world. So lay people and monks, they mutually support each other. Each have to do their duty. 4.9 Kuha Sutta. Monks, whatever monks are deceitful, stubborn, mere talkers, frauds, arrogant and unconcentrated, these monks are no followers of mine. They have turned aside from this Dhammavinaya and will not achieve growth, progress or development within it. But whatever monks are not deceitful, not mere talkers, wise, adaptable and well concentrated, these monks are indeed my followers. They have not turned aside from this Dhammavinaya and will achieve growth, progress and development within it. Deceitful, stubborn, mere talkers, frauds, arrogant, unconcentrated, these make no progress in the Dhamma, taught by the fully enlightened one. Undeceitful, not talkative, wise, adaptable, well concentrated, such as these progress in the Dhamma, taught by the fully enlightened one. 4.10 Nadi Sota Sutta. Suppose, monks, a man was being borne along by the current of a river that seemed pleasant and agreeable, but upon seeing him, a keen-sighted man standing on the bank would call out to him, "Hey, good man, although you are being borne along by the current of a river that seems pleasant and agreeable, lower down there is a pool with turbulent waves and swirling eddies, with monsters and demons. On reaching that pool you will die or suffer close to death." Then monks, upon hearing the words of that person, that man would struggle against the current with both hands and feet. I have made use of this simile, monks, to illustrate the meaning, and this is the meaning here. The current of the river is a synonym for craving. Seeming pleasant and agreeable is a synonym for the 6 internal sense bases. The pool lower down is a synonym for the 5 lower fetters. Turbulent waves is a synonym for anger and frustration. Swirling eddies is a synonym for the 5 strands of sensual pleasure. Monsters and demons is a synonym for womenfolk. Against the current is a synonym for renunciation. Struggling with hands and feet is a synonym for instigating energy. The keen-sighted man standing on the bank is a synonym for the Tathagata, the Arahant Sammasambuddha. Desiring future security from bondage, one should abandon sensual desire, however painful this may be. Rightly comprehending with wisdom, possessing a mind that is well released, one may reach freedom step by step. One who is a master of knowledge, who has lived the holy life, is called one gone to the world's end, one who has reached the further shore. So here you see the verses, the second and the third. One should abandon sensual desire or sensual pleasures, however painful this may be. So to cultivate the spiritual path, sometimes for some people it's very painful. But the Buddha says, what is right, what is skillful, what should be done. Even though with tears coming down your eyes, the Buddha said, to grit your teeth and bear it is worthwhile. 4.11 Chara Sutta. Monks, if while walking, a sensual thought or a thought of ill will or an aggressive thought arises in a monk, and if he tolerates it and does not reject it, does not dispel it and get rid of it and bring it to an end, that monk who in such a manner is lacking in ardor and unafraid of wrongdoing is called constantly lazy and indolent. If while standing or sitting or lying down, a sensual thought or a thought of ill will or an aggressive thought arises in a monk, and if he tolerates it and does not reject it, that monk is called constantly lazy and indolent. But if while walking, standing, sitting, lying down, a sensual thought or a thought of ill will or an aggressive thought arises in a monk, and he does not tolerate it, but rejects it, dispels it, gets rid of it, and brings it to an end, that monk who in such a manner is ardent and afraid of wrongdoing is called constantly energetic and resolute. Whether walking or standing, sitting or lying down, whoever thinks such thoughts that are evil and worldly, he is following a wrong path, infatuated with delusive things. Such a monk cannot reach enlightenment which is supreme. Whether walking or standing, sitting or lying down, whoever overcomes these thoughts, delighting in the quelling of thoughts, such a monk is able to reach enlightenment which is supreme. So we must constantly look into our thoughts. What kind of thoughts we have. Unwholesome thoughts we should get rid of and develop wholesome thoughts. Sometimes certain thoughts we have, we must also examine what is the motive, why we think like this or why we react like this and all that, to understand ourselves and cut our defilements. 4.12 Sampana Sila Sutta. Monks, you should live perfect in virtue, perfect in the practice of the rules of discipline, and be restrained by the restraint of the rules, perfect in conduct and resort, seeing danger in the slightest faults. You should train in the rules of training you have undertaken. Living perfect in virtue, monks, and training in the rules of training you have undertaken, what is there further that should be done? If, while he is walking, standing, sitting, and lying down, a monk is free from covetousness and ill will, free from sloth and torpor, free from restlessness and worry, and has abandoned doubts, his energy becomes strong and unflagging, his mindfulness is alert and unclouded, his body is calm and undistressed, his mind concentrated and one-pointed. A monk who in such a manner is ardent and afraid of wrongdoing is called constantly energetic and resolute. Control while walking, control while standing, control while sitting, control while reclining, controlled in bending and stretching his limbs, above, across and below. As far as the world extends, a monk observes how things occur, the arising and passing of the aggregates, living thus ardently, of calm and quiet conduct, ever mindful, he trains in the course of calm tranquility of mind. Such a monk is said to be one who is ever resolute. So the Buddha always encourages his monks to get rid of the 5 hindrances and attain one-pointedness of mind, because the condition for seeing things as they really are, seeing and knowing things as they really are, is samadhi, one-pointedness of mind. In several suttas it says so. 4.13 Loka Sutta. Monks, the world has been fully understood by the Tathagata. The Tathagata is released from the world. The origin of the world has been fully understood by the Tathagata. The origin of the world has been abandoned by the Tathagata. The cessation of the world has been fully understood by the Tathagata. The cessation of the world has been realized by the Tathagata. The path leading to the cessation of the world has been fully understood by the Tathagata. The path leading to the cessation of the world has been developed by the Tathagata. Monks, in the world with its devas, maras and brahmas, with its recluses and brahmins, among humankind with its princes and people, whatever is seen, heard, sensed, cognized, attained, sought and reflected upon by the mind, that is fully understood by the Tathagata. Therefore he is called the Tathagata. Monks, from the night when the Tathagata awakened to unsurpassed full enlightenment, until the night when he passes away into the Nibbana element with no residue left, whatever he speaks, utters and explains, all that is just so and not otherwise. Therefore he is called the Tathagata. As the Tathagata says, so he does. As the Tathagata does, so he says. Therefore he is called the Tathagata. In the world with its devas, maras and brahmas, with its recluses and brahmins, among humankind with its princes and people, the Tathagata is the conqueror, unvanquished, all-seer, wielding power. Therefore he is called the Tathagata. By knowledge of the whole world as it truly is, he is released from all the world. In all the world he is unattached. The all-conquering heroic sage, freed from every bond is he. He has reached that perfect peace, Nibbana, which is free from fear. Rid of taints, he is enlightened. Trouble-free, with doubts destroyed, reached the final end of deeds, released by clinging's full destruction. The enlightened one, the Lord, a lion is he, unsurpassed. For in the world, together with his devas, he set the Brahma wheel in motion. Thus those devas and human beings, gone for refuge to the Buddha, on meeting him, pay homage to him, the great one, free from diffidence. Tamed, of the tamed, he is the best. Calmed, of the calmed, he is the seer. Freed, of the freed, he is the foremost. Crossed, of the crossed, he is the chief. Thus do they pay him due homage, the great one, free from diffidence. In the world, together with his devas, there is no person equaling you. This too is the meaning of what was said by the Lord, so I heard. That's the end of the Itivuttaka. So the Buddha says, whatever he says is just so and not otherwise. Whatever the Buddha says is true. But sometimes certain books, you see it seems like the Buddha says one thing and in another book the Buddha says another thing. So the two books cannot be correct. So you can know from there that there are certain later books which contradict what the Buddha says. So the Buddha says, whatever any monk says, you must always compare it to the suttas and the Vinaya. You can only accept it if it agrees with the suttas and the Vinaya. Anything to discuss?
If a person wants to go forward and become a monk, in your opinion, what sort of criteria do you go?
The most important to me is understanding of the Dhamma. Because if you understand the Dhamma, then as you walk the spiritual path, there will be a lot of suffering. There will be some disappointment. There will be some obstacles. And if you strive hard, then there's even more suffering. But if you understand the Dhamma, you know that life is impermanent. Very soon, this body will die. And what you thought was you will vanish forever and ever, as if it never existed. Then you are willing to put the effort and suffer for it. So the first important thing is understanding the Dhamma. Secondly, even understanding the Dhamma, person sometimes a lot of people they think they want to become a monk. More than a year ago, there was a Australian. At that time he was living in America. He wrote to me and he called me on the phone and all that. He told me he wants to become a monk. So I told him, you only think you want to become a monk. What I meant was that you have to be very sure. A lot of people think they want to become a monk. After they come to the monastery, then they taste the monk's life, and then they find a lot of suffering. I have to get up at 3:30 in the morning, which is not used to. Go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, when I'm not used to. No TV, no computer, no internet and all that. Then they get cold feet. So they only think they want to become a monk. They're not sure they want to become a monk. And then there are some people who come into monkhood, wear the robe for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. More than 30 years also they disrobe. Why? So the right view is very important. If you understand the Dhamma and then you attain right view, then you go forth. Then all the obstacles you'll be able to stand.
Certain teachers like Ajahn Chah, which is a very austere way of training his disciples, not willing to take it.
Yes, but I consider Thailand to be the Thai forest monasteries to be a very good place for a new monk. This monastery is not a good place for a new monk because this is not a training monastery. I don't have time. There's not enough monks here to do the training. You want to train a monk, there got to be many other monks to teach him. So the strict forest monasteries in Thailand is a very, very good place for a new monk to get a few years of training. After you've gotten a few years of training, you come back here, a place like this where it's more relaxed. But you start off in this monastery where it's very relaxed, then you find when you go to other monasteries, you cannot stand it. When I first became a monk, I went to America in a very strict Mahayana monastery. You practically had to work the whole day and start at 7 something on an empty stomach. No coffee, no tea, no breakfast, nothing. And heavy work. Carry Buddha statues, plant trees, repair pipes and electricity and all that. So because of the tough training I had, I go to most monasteries, I can take it. So you got to have that kind of initial training. Then only you can go anywhere. You can survive. Also, from experience, I can say when a person is young in the monkhood, is full of vigor, full of. So it's good to go to a strict monastery, and then later, as you mellow and you grow old, then you start to be not so. You can become more lax. But if you have a good start, a very strict start, even you become lax a bit, you don't become too lax. But if you start off with a lax attitude, then when you let go, you become even worse. So I mentioned about that Australian guy. I told him to go to Thailand. Now he's in Thailand. But he appreciates our place. I don't think so.
But it's not like in working life, we come across situations where we find some of our workmates involved in investment funds or good, and then you realize the thought of you want to reform this person, you don't be conscientious for it. But then there can be backlash as well, because the person is responsible. What else do you do because you do it here? So such situations, what do you do?
Hard to say, probably I can try to discourage him from doing something wrong. And if he persists, maybe don't directly report him, but maybe hint to some people so that they maybe watch him more, so that he slowly he gets to know that people know. But somebody has told me before that his direct boss was doing this kind of thing. And when he tried to report him, it didn't work because the higher bosses were also all on the take. So when the whole system is corrupt, it's very hard to change. Best thing to do, if you can't tolerate it, is to run away, go away.
In page 228, the first sentence, the knowledge of destruction arrives first, and final knowledge immediately follows. Does it mean that once it enters the heart, then it becomes good?
Where is this?
The first sentence, the knowledge of destruction.
Is it page, what page?
Page 228.
Number 1?
Yes, page 102, chapter 4, 102, should be the first sutta of the chapter 4. And the word, the first sentence, the knowledge of destruction arises first, and final knowledge immediately follows.
Sutta number 4.1. 4.3. If this one is correct, then maybe it refers to knowledge of destruction of the the asavas are destroyed lah. And then he knows lah. Final knowledge is liberation. Probably. But then, the commentaries, they have interpretation which has nothing to do with the suttas lah. They say when a person attains the path or the fruit, that he sees the nibbana element. They see the nibbana element, then only they attain the Aryahood. I don't know whether this refers to that. If it is, then it's not the Buddha's teaching. Or it can be the knowledge of destruction of the fetters. But this kind of thing is not very important because it doesn't help you to become enlightened. What is important is the Noble Eightfold Path and how to practice the Noble Eightfold Path.
You mentioned this might group of people around the world Buddha speaking the Sangha or doing Mother and Father. This might group of people, 3 of them are involved in holy, either holy people or holy, but Mother and Father, sometimes you can have a father who is a drunkard and a swindler, or mother who is a cheat. So, they may not be holy people. And I think this is even if you carry your mother and father on shoulders and take all the experiment and all that for 100 years, it still cannot repay that. But for children who find their parents abusive and who take advantage of them and all that, the point is unbearable. It's very hard for them to relate to what Buddha is saying.
When the Buddha talks about this mother and father, I think it means the two persons who act like parents to you, who act like mother and father. Like somebody, like one of our devotees asked me, he said his parents never looked after him when he was young, very young. It was his aunties, other aunties who looked after him. His grandmother who looked after him. So he doesn't feel that closeness to his parents. It's understandable because they didn't act like parents. There are some, for example, give birth to the child and give away the child. So they might be biological parents, but they are not really parents. They are not acting like parents. They did not act like parents. In which case, does not include them, I think. On the other hand, I suppose now a couple they adopt a child and bring up this child like their own child with all the love and all these things. And then if that child kills these parents, that is breaking the one of the most serious offenses because they act like parents to you. You don't act like a son to them. By the way, just now you mentioned the 5 heaviest karmas. It's not killing the Buddha. Because if a Buddha is not ready or not willing to enter Nibbana, nobody can kill him. What he says there is injuring a Buddha, shedding his blood. Okay, shall we end here?